And now we're up to Daf Beis Amid Beis. So we're looking for reasons why the pattern of the Mishnah is A, B, A, B. Like Nami, here's another case where the Tan of the Mishnah follows that pattern. And the reason for that is Mefarish Ikar Hanachla Bereisha. So these are the major cases and majority cases of Nachla, which is called Nochlin Umechilin. And there's a two-directional relationship or a reciprocal relationship between the Nochel and the Manchil. Like, for example, Abu Ben, the Ben inherits his father and vice versa. And therefore, that's the Iker Din Yerusha that's going to come first. Elahacha, but here, in the case of Kinui and Yadayim, the Gemara raises the following question: Lifrosh Kinui Bereisha, that same kind of logic of A B that applies in Yeshnochlin should apply here in our Mishnah. Why should we change the say there? Why would we put the explanation and the specific scenarios of Yodos before the specific scenarios of Kinuyim? And what underlies the Gemara's Kasha Tost explains is the premise that Kinuyim are Ikar Naziris. I mean, this is really Naziris Mamish, Kabbal's Naziris, just that he has a Kinuyim instead of the original language or the original word. So that should come first. And the Gemara answers, what was the compelling reason for the Tana to go into the details about Yadayim first? The pasuk says in Nasal Ish O Isha Ki Afli Lidor Neder Nazir Lahazal Hashem. And from that Nazir Lahazir, the extra language, we darshan in Torsh Val Peh to include Yadayim. Whereas Kinuyim is basically logic. It's equating A to A. And therefore we have a principle Chavivale, a drasha, which is Torsh Val Peh, is more Chaviv, and it gets Kedima. So the Gemara says, okay, so lift up our own Bereisha. Why does the Mishnah open up and say, call Yadayim Ki Yadayim? And the Gemara says, Tana Ki Maskil, when the Torah, when the Tana of the Mishnah opens up, and the discussion is which Amiros are valid as Kabbal's Naziris, Maskil Be'ikar, he starts with that which is really basic Kabbal's Naziris, like Kinuyim, as we said before, just a different language, but it's the same Kabbal's Naziris. And this is true, Bain L'das Rav Yochanan, who holds that Kinuyim are foreign languages, and that's a Lashon Gomer. Or even according to Reish Lakish, who says Kinuyim Tiknu Lehem Chacham Lios Nojer Behem, that also makes it Ikar Naziris. But Yodos, that doesn't sound like Kabbal's Naziris. It's only that we contextually derive that conclusion. So that's not the Ikar Lashon Naziris. And Karban, if you're talking about why a Nazir brings a Karban, then the Ikar is going to be Kinuyim. And the derech of the Tana is to open with Dvarim Yisodim, Dvarim Pshutim, that which is clear, and that which is the Ikar Naziris. Lenient Perush. However, when we're up to explaining the specifics and bringing scenarios, Mefarish Yadayim, Yodos Bereisha, because Chavivin because it's derived from a drush. The Mishnah says, Omer, hey, Harez and Nazir. The Gemara says, what do you mean? Just because he said a hey, that means he's been mekabel on himself and Nazir. Still a hey, the Titus Gomer. Maybe his intention was to be mekabel on himself a Titus, a fast, which is something that we do mincha time before the day. So there doesn't seem to be any definite indication here that his intention is to be mekabel Naziris. How therefore can we say that he's chayav and karbonos of a Nazir to bring karbonos into the Mikdash? Even if you'll say this is a suffix, well, guess what? Sufik Nazir's Lahakil, the more establishes later on in the Ches. And the problem is that we can't allow him to bring karbanos. Shmuel says, what's the case in the Mishnah where when he says hey, we understand very well that he means to be makabel Nazirus, and only his language was incomplete. He said a yad of hey. That's when he's witnessing in front of his eyes and Nazir passing, and he says hey, as if to say, I too want to be like him. And that proves that he has an interest in being makabel alatzmo Nazirus. The Gemara later on is going to say that there's really not enough of a proof, but in any event. So the Gemara asks the following question: Lema, shall we say that Shmuel, by introducing Nazir Obalafonov, is of the opinion that Yadayim Sheinu Mochichos Lo Avi Yadayim? The Gemara assumes that hey, although it could be interpreted to mean hey Nazir, but there's more of an inclination to assume that hey is a Kabbalas Nazirus, and therefore it should be a Yad, albeit a Yad Sheinu Mochiach. But the fact that Shmuel is not satisfied to interpret that we're talking about a case where he said hey, and that alone would constitute a Yadayim, it means that Yadayim Sheinu Mochichos, if we don't have a real solid proof, then it's not a Yad. Only when it's over Lefanov, Shmuel says, then we have a real clear indication that the word hey means hey Nazir, and we can fill in the missing word Nazir. And this, the Gemara says, is against the sheet of Shmuel, who actually holds in Masechet Kiddushin. When a man says the woman are Mekudeshes and he omits the word li, and he might be a shliach on behalf of someone else, Shmuel says the Kiddushin are valid. And even though it's a Yad Sheinu Mochiach, Shmuel's of the opinion that Yadayim Sheinu Mochichos have in Yadayim. And yet here, unless it's Nazir Omer Lefanov, even if he says hey as a Yad Sheinu Mochiach, it's not valid. And the Gemara answers, Amri, the truth is Shmuel holds that even Yadayim Sheinu Mochichos have the status of Yadayim. And that's why if he says Arei Mekudeshes and he omits the word li, Shmuel's of the opinion that she's Mekudeshes. But this man should Nazir Omer Lefanov lekelas fuke the milsachrinin. It's only because the Nazir is over Lefanov that we can tip the scale and we understand without a shadow of a doubt that his intention was to be makabel Nazirus. Whereas if there's no Nazir over Lefanov, Amrina and Dilma Hey B'Tainis Kava, we don't really have an indication one way or the other whether he means to be makabel Nazirus or to be makabel Atzmo Tainis. And therefore, this is not even a Yad. It doesn't even reach the level of Yadayim Sheinu Mochichos. In other words, we have three levels. We have something that's less than Yadayim Sheinu Mochichos. Then we have Yadayim Sheinu Mochichos. And then we have Yadayim Mochichos. So Shmuel would say the following: if it's Eina Mochichos, Klal, then it doesn't even have the mashmos of a neder, and the neder is not Klal. If, on the other hand, it's Yadayim Sheinu Mochichos, but there's an indication, and we can tip the scale to indicate that he wants that, in other words, he wants Kiddushin, then Shmuel validates that Yadayim, even though it's Sheinu Mochichos. But in the case of Aha doesn't even reach the level of Yadayim Sheinu Mochichos, it's not a Yad at all, and therefore the Mishnah must be talking, says Shmuel, about a case of Nazir over Lefan. So the Gemara asks for Dilma, maybe when he said, when the Nazir was over Lefanov, Lefocho min karbonosam. That's what he meant to say. When he said hey, he wanted to pater the Nazir who was over Lefanov from his karbonos. The Nazir, when he terminates his Nazirus, is obligated in 3 karbonos, as we mentioned earlier. And this person who said hey is alleviating that Nazir from his responsibility to bring those karbonos. He offers himself as a substitute to bring the karbonos on behalf of this Nazir. So therefore, how do you know that he's being makabel Nazirus? And your answer is Bika Omar Belivo. We have enough of evidence here to indicate that if he had in his heart an indication, a decision that he wants to accept upon his Nazirus, then we could add three variables here: A, B plus C. Number one, he has the word aha, which we think means aha Nazirus, aha Nazir. Plus, he has Nazir over Lefanav. Plus, he has a Kabbalah's Nazirus Belibo. When we add those three together, then we have Kabbalah's Nazirus. So Gemara says, Umayla Meimar, isn't that simple? Understood. Why do I need Shmuel? And according to Shmuel, why do I need the Mishnah? You cannot add into this cholent the variable of what he was makabel in his lave. Everything has to be indicated by his haflas peh. Ish ki yafli lidor nega lahazir atzmi. Kamash malon, the Mishnah is machadish here that if it's nazar l'fanav and his machshavto is revealed through his dibur because it's aha, and it means aha nazir because it's a nazar l'fanav, then it's called piv v'libo shavim, and we can integrate his kabbalah belev together with these objective factors and his lashon of a yad. The Mishnah goes on to say that a hey noah nazir, if he says I should be beautiful, he means that he's accepting upon himself nazir. So the Gemara asks, what do you mean? Dilma, perhaps, anol lefanav b'mitzvahs. Maybe he's making this declaration as a commitment to Hidur Mitzvah. Kedesanya, like learned in a Brisa, interpreting the pasuk in Parashat B'Shalach, Zeh Kelim Anveu, and Noah Lefanav B'Mitzvahs, I will beautify myself in the presence of Hashem by doing a beautiful mitzvah. For example, Esel Lefanav Sukkah Noah, I'll make a beautiful sukkah, Lulav Noah, I'll take a beautiful lulav, Tzitzis Noah, I have a beautiful beged and beautiful chutin of tzitzis. Echel l'fanav sefer Torah na. I'll hire the best sofer to write a beautiful sefer Torah. Echrechenu b'shirayim noim. I will find a mantle, a cover for the sefer Torah that's absolutely beautiful. So maybe a hey noah is a commitment on his part to be mahad the mitzvahs. Omer Shmuel, he's holding on to his hair, and he says that through his hair he wants to accept upon himself to beautify himself. And that means to be a Nazir, because a Nazir is not allowed to cut his hair, and he can beautify his hair. The Gemara asks the following question. Nizira milsa davera. We have an opinion, as we'll soon see on Daf Gimel Amud Aleph, that to be makabel Nazirus is an avera. That's why he brings the korban chatas as determination of his Nazirus. So would you use the word noah to beautify yourself by being makabel Nazirus? And the Gemara answers in Afilu lulu Rabbi Lazar hakapa. We're now on Daf Gimel Amud Aleph Dioma Nazir chote. A Nazir is considered a chote, he's a ratzon in a yayin. It means that we should be using yayin for higher things, but not prohibiting it. Hanimi legavi Nazir tame, he only meant Rabbi Lazar Kapor if he's metame himself. The ivy, the boy, mistar, now he has to be soser, his Nazirus Rishonim, all those days are null and void. He's got to start all completely from the beginning. Hayomim harishonim yiklu amrachmonim kitame nizo, because he was metame. So now he's going to have a long period of Nazirus, because we scratched the first period of the Nazirus, so we had another 30 days of Nazirus. Chasam, in that case, because he was metame himself, he's called a chote dimar osi lemevar al Nazirusa, because as a result of his being metame himself, he's going to extend the days of Nazirus, and he might violate the Isurei Nazir. Nazir Tar is lav chote karibe. He's not considered chote, and therefore the word Noah is an appropriate word for Kabbalah's Nazirus. Okay, then this is where we'll stop for today. Wishing you a great day.